Now, I don't know about you, but I always find these questions a bit icky, especially when they do that thing sort of like you gotta find the one that is not true. It's like a double negative, confusing sometimes. But think about this. That means everyone else thinks it's an icky question. So if you attack this question and you know what you're doing, then you're going to get a question right that no one else gets right. Now we just basically go through A, B, C, D, E and find out which one is not true. So let's look at A. The shortest athlete is a netballer. Well, the shortest one is the endpoints here, the minimums. And as you can see, if we line that all up, definitely the netballer is the shortest. So that is in fact true, which means it's wrong. Sounds a bit of a strange thing to say true is wrong. It's a crazy world we live in now. The rowers have the least variable height. So variability, if you look at this, this is IQR, a measure of variability, and this is range, which is a measure of variability. And it's a least variable is going to have the shortest distance. So you can see a little bit shorter here, but very short on the rowers. I used to be a rower, and it's a very good idea to have less variability because it depends on how big your stroke length is when you're pulling the oar. But enough of my reminiscing. That one is definitely true. Least variable, the shortest IQRs and ranges. Let's try number 3. More than 25% of the netballers are shorter than all rowers. Well, if we look at this, that's 25%. This is what they're testing on you. Do you know that that's also 25%, and that's 25%, and that is 25%. Doesn't matter how long they are. That distance always represents 25%. So on the netballers, we got a 25% here. And if we bring that line down, it's close, but that shows there's a little bit more before you get to the shortest rower, because all the rowers are bigger. Yes, quite tall people rowers. If you ever do rowing, I once met the awesome foursome many years ago, and they were considerably taller than me, and I'm 6'1". There you go. More reminiscing. Now, so we can definitely say that that is true for C. So we haven't found our untrue answer yet. Just going to delete all that business up there. And so the next one, we've got to say the basketballers are the tallest athletes in terms of median height. Well, we probably assume that, wouldn't we? They're normally freaky tall. But there's your median. They're trying to test, did you know it's the middle line? And obviously, as you can see, it's definitely true. Basketballers, they are tall. Even compared to rowers and netball players, who are quite tall people if you ever meet them. And so we're assuming E's got to be then not true, which means it's correct, but let's just double check why. It says more than 50% of the basketballers are taller than all of the rowers or netballers. So this is your 50% line, right? So that's 50% all there. And if we continue this line down, it does cut off a little bit there of the rowers. So it's true that 50% or more than 50% of the basketballers are taller than the netballers, but not of the rowers. Therefore, it is wrong, which makes it right. Okay, so this looks like a job for the calculator. Whenever you're doing the calculator, you put your data in. So I'd call this list 1, list 2, and list 3. Just scribble it on your page. You don't have to be fancy with your calculator. And put your data in. Now, I must emphasize this over and over again. Double check everything. So double check you've put your data in. If you haven't put your data in correctly, it is the silliest mistake to make. So double check that the data is in correctly. It can be easy to catch on the multiple choice because, you know, if none of the answers are down the bottom, you're going to go, oh, must have fluffed something up, double check. But it's a surprisingly common and really stupid mistake to make. And on written exam 2, you might not be able to spot it because, you know, there's nothing to check it against. So double check, always double check. It's very important. So you don't need to do that fancy thing of changing the names of the lists if you just put the list names at the top there. And we're trying to actually find the standard deviation for the lean body mass index, LBM, which is list 1. So if we put that into our calculator and choose just list 1 calc 1 variable, we can see there's our X bar 55.7 roughly. That's these two, cool. And it starts for SX. SX is for sample size. So if you're going to get a sample, not the whole population, you use SX and sigma X if you've got the whole population. 4.79, that roughly equates to 4.8. So therefore the answer must be E. Let's just remind ourselves that was our list 1, list 2, and list 3 on our calculator. And we're going to be looking at a least squares line where we got PBF as response and BMI as explanatory. Now, how do you remember that? X for explanatory. So if we would have a graph like this, it's going to be PBF and BMI, and PBF I can see is list 2 and BMI is list 3. So if you hit your calculator, make sure you're doing list 3 as your X and list 2 as your Y to get these numbers. And you can see A is minus 4.7. Because we're doing A plus BX, which is sometimes the preferred format. So minus 4.7. Okay, so we've got those two, and then B is about 1.2. They're both the same. All you got to remember is that the PBF is the Y, so it's got to be the PBF here, which is the Y. So the answer must be A. Okay, so we're working out the R for LBM and PBF. I'm assuming that's list 1, list 2 for LBM and PBF. And I stuck that in my calculator. And I got my R, 0.124, minus 0.124. There's my minus 1.4, minus 0.124. And so the answer is B. Okay, so they're giving us the equation of a line, and they want us to work out the residual between LBM and BMI of 22. So we're going to use this equation for our prediction. So for residual, we're going to need the actual. So there's BMI, there's LBM. BMI of 22 gives us an LBM of 448.3. So this guy is our actual. So what we've got to do is take this 22 and put it in here. So LBM equals 48.9 plus 0.32 times 22. And if you do that, you get 55.94. Look at that. No, not yet. That's just your prediction. And so we need to then work out that the residual equals the actual minus predicted. So that's going to equal 48.3 minus 55.94. We can already see where this is heading. It is minus 7.64, but you really didn't need to hit your calculator to know it was heading there. I mean, 48 minus 55 roughly is not going to be anywhere near minus 1.5, and we know it's negative because the actual is much less than the predicted. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy.